everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you're wondering how that happened, whether you're into handmade crafts or the intrigue of criminal cases, stick around, hit that like button, and subscribe because you have found your people. By the end of this video, you'll see a handcrafted product come to life as we journey back to 1994. Check out the description box below for more details on the product I'm creating, and feel free to check out our website while you're there. Now, let's get into today's story. This is the continuation of our deep dive of OJ Simpson and the trial of the century. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend checking it out before joining us for this discussion after the video. I previously mentioned that what interested me in talking about today's case was the fact that it has sparked an interest in a new generation. With the recent passing of OJ, who was acquitted of the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, we left off with Nicole Brown filing for divorce from OJ Simpson in 1992. As promised, we are going to now see what life was like for those involved a few years later. If you venture down any social media avenue, you will see tons of conspiracy theories on who may have possibly committed the crime if OJ was not guilty. One being his oldest son, Jason. Another being serial killers who were known to commit similar crimes nearby. Some also say police intentionally tampered with evidence. But among the myriad of theories circulating on social media, one stands out for its chilling plausibility: the involvement of the mob. There is a plethora of information about the case itself, but I would like to explore the alternative facts, specifically the mob. With that being said, I want to emphasize that this video is based on speculation and internet theories, and it is not intended to accuse anyone of any wrongdoing or cause harm to the loved ones. I'm just bringing you down the Reddit rabbit hole with me. But before that happens, I would like to introduce you to Ron Goldman. Ronald Lyle Goldman was born July 2nd, 1968, and grew up in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. His parents, Frederick and Sharon, divorced in 1974, and he was primarily raised by his father. In school, he was known as a kind, skinny kid who played soccer and tennis. After graduating from high school in 1986, Ron attended Illinois State University for 1 semester, where he intended to major in psychology. However, when his family relocated to Southern California when he was 18 years old, Ron decided to discontinue his studies and follow them. This decision often makes me wonder about the pivotal moments in our lives and the different paths that we could take. Like literally the key players in this case, as I was reviewing them, I could literally see the forks in the road. Once in California, Goldman lived independently from his family and supported himself by working as a tennis instructor and waiter. He also dabbled in modeling and had a keen interest in acting. Not long before his death, he had earned an EMT license but chose not to pursue that career. Instead, Ron expressed to his friends his desire to open a bar or restaurant in the Brentwood area, not to be known by a name, but by the Ankh symbol that matched the tattoo on his shoulder. It was while working towards his ultimate goal that Ron met Nicole Brown in 1994 while he was working at the Mezzaluna restaurant as a waiter. Okay, pause. Anyone else find it coincidental that not only did Nicole meet Ron as a waiter, just as she met OJ as a waitress, but a Mezzaluna is also a knife? And OJ's menu item at the nightclub that Nicole worked at included a sliced orange? Just me? Okay. Now, this is where things get speculative because I could not find how the two actually connected enough to become fast friends. It is said that Nicole let Ron borrow her Ferrari to meet a friend for lunch, But how did she trust him so much with such an expensive car, having just met him? Why Ron? This is where social media took that tidbit of information and ran with it. Ron had only met Nicole 6 weeks prior to their untimely deaths. During this time, it is alleged that Nicole may have been into drug use, as she was good friends with Faye Resnick, who has admitted to using cocaine. Faye was sometimes a house guest of Nicole's, but was in rehab during the time of the murders. The theory suggests that hitmen were hired by Colombian cocaine dealers to whom Faye owed money. It is also speculated that the Mezzaluna, where Ron worked as a waiter, try saying that fast 3 times, was known for this kind of activity, with many of the workers linked to the mafia and or the drug trade. On July 30th, 1993, just 11 months prior to the well-known double murder, Ron Goldman's acquaintance, Brett Cantor, was fatally attacked with a knife. The method of attack mirrored that of Ron and Nicole, from behind, slashing across the throat, and multiple stabbings to the arms and chest. Judge Lance Ito's ruling granted the defense lawyers of OJ's case access to the file in the Cantor case and added a new dimension to the OJ Simpson trial. The defense contended that the similarity between the murders of Brett Cantor, Ron Goldman, and Nicole Brown Simpson suggested that the same individual or individuals were responsible for all 3 killings. Some books on the case have even suggested that Cantor's connections to both Goldman and Brown imply a possible motive related to mutual involvement in potentially illegal business activities. See how I ventured down the rabbit hole? Well, it gets deeper. Photos of Nicole Brown with known criminals involved in the drug trade taken in a hot tub and on a bed were aired on the news. Now, I personally could not locate these photos, so if you know where they are, I'm interested to see them. Again, we're at the section of speculation. It is said that OJ Simpson expressed his distress upon seeing his children associated with the drug scene, which Nicole had allegedly become involved in. A private investigator hired by Robert Shapiro for the Simpson case claimed that Nicole had discussed opening a restaurant with Ron Goldman as her business partner, intending to fund it with profits from cocaine sales. The PI also suggested that Nicole and her friends were, quote-unquote, in over their heads with some drug dealers. Denise Brown was frequently seen and photographed with Tony Fietto, a former mafia enforcer turned FBI informant who was associated with the mob. Despite their close relationship, Denise denied that Tony was her boyfriend. On the evening of Sunday, June 12, 1994, Ron Goldman was working as a server at the Mezzaluna. Nicole called the restaurant to report that her mother had left her reading glasses behind earlier that evening. Although Goldman had not served them, he agreed to drop off the glasses at her home after his shift at Brown's request. According to reports, Goldman finished his shift at 9:33 p.m. and stayed an additional 15 minutes to have bottled water at the bar. Before returning the sunglasses, he stopped by his Brentwood apartment and had plans to go out with Mezzaluna's bartender, Stuart Tanner, later that evening. Goldman then walked approximately 5 to 10 minutes to Brown's condominium. Unfortunately, Ron Goldman and Stuart would not be able to see out the plans that they had scheduled later that evening, because tragically, both Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown were stabbed to death on the walkway leading to the condominium. Their bodies were discovered shortly after midnight. Based on police reconstruction of the events, it is believed that Brown and Goldman were either talking when they were attacked, or Goldman had walked in on Brown being attacked. The police theory suggests that Brown was the intended target and that Goldman was killed to silence him. A witness later testified that while walking near Brown's house that night, he heard a man yelling "hey" 3 times, who was shouted at by a second man. Goldman's family came to believe that Ron was the man shouting "hey," and that he may have attempted to save Brown and intervened in the attack. I feel the need to remind you that, again, this is all speculation, but it is said that police detectives violated state law and their own department policy by waiting hours to summon the county coroner after the discovery of the bodies. Further violating protocol, key evidence remained unsecure in the processing room for 3 days before being properly documented and secured. This evidence was accessible to 70 to 80 police personnel, raising concerns about potential mishandling. Some have speculated, without evidence, that the lead detective involved in the case may have been connected to the mob and used OJ Simpson as a scapegoat. However, these claims are unsubstantiated and speculative. It is documented that the defense claimed that the lead detective had committed perjury and was not a credible witness. They also claimed that he planted key evidence as part of a racially motivated plot against Simpson. I believe that it was 3 different labs from the actual trial that all stated that although there was blood in the infamous Bronco that was on the low-speed chase, that it appeared that the blood had been later smeared in the Bronco and not that it was splattered, meaning that they feel it was intentionally placed there. Now let's keep in mind of the time that this story takes place, not saying that racism is ever okay in any century, any decade whatsoever, but we are talking about the LAPD in the 90s who was accused of corruption, and we are not that far removed from the Rodney King beating at this point. When asked under oath, the lead detective declined to answer all questions, invoking his Fifth Amendment right. These questions included whether he planted or manufactured evidence. So if we are tying it back to Tony, who was the FBI informant, former mob enforcer, it would make sense why people piece together that particular theory. In under 4 months following the horrific murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman, Faye Resnick, remember her from earlier? Well, she was the friend of Nicole, but she authored a bold-titled book called Nicole Brown Simpson, The Private Diary of a Life Interrupted. Not only did she write this book about her good friend, not even letting her be lukewarm in the ground, she collaborated on the book with Mike Walter, a gossip writer for the National Enquirer. So then I can see how people came up with that theory of her possibly owing money to the mob. The murders of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown were part of a series of killings involving individuals connected to either Simpson, Ron, or Nicole. 2 weeks after Ron and Nicole's murders, there was a friend of Simpson along with 2 other women who were shot and killed by 2 home intruders. Then on March 19, 1995, Charles Minor, a record company promoter and another friend of Simpson, was murdered by one of his girlfriends. In September of 1995, a waiter at the Mezzaluna, where Ron worked, was shot in the head and killed. Additionally, it's speculated that another waiter from Mezzaluna narrowly survived a car bombing. The only case that was solved was that of Charles Minor. In part 1, we talked about OJ's first wife, Marguerite Whitley. She shot down rumors of abuse or aggression on OJ's part during a January 1995 interview on 2020. Whitley told the late and great Barbara Walters that she would be willing to testify that OJ had never hit her during their relationship. She said, and I quote, "If he did, he would have got a frying pan upside his head." During that same interview, she also stated that she believed Simpson to be innocent of murdering Nicole and Ron. "He's just not like that," she said. Whitley did notably attend OJ's trial sitting next to their surviving children. If you recall from the first video of how their relationship ended, I think that speaks volumes to her character, because she could have definitely kicked OJ while he was down, and probably rightfully so. Following Simpson's acquittal, the Goldmans initiated their own legal action by filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the former football player in civil court. Nicole's family also participated in the legal proceedings. The civil trial commenced in October of 1996, and on this occasion, the jury found Simpson liable for the deaths of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. I personally do not understand how he was found innocent in the criminal trial, but was found guilty in the civil suit. I tried to look it up. It seems the world is just as confused as me. But if you figured that out, please let me know in the comments, because I've been trying to figure that out since I was a little girl. However, alongside that verdict in February of 1997, $8.5 million in damages was awarded to the Goldmans. An extra $25 million was awarded for punitive damages, with this amount being divided between the two families. OJ Simpson passed away on April 10th, 2024, after a battle with prostate cancer. It is said that the families of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown were never funded for what they were awarded, as OJ maintained his innocence. Unless you count the book he tried to release called If I Did It. To wrap up our deep dive into the OJ Simpson case, we've explored various theories and alternative facts surrounding the murders of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. From the involvement of the mob to speculation about other suspects, this case continues to captivate the public's interest. While we may never know the full truth behind what happened that fateful night in 1994, the case serves as a reminder of the complexities of the criminal justice system and the impact it can have on individuals and families. Let's keep the discussion alive in the comments. Do you have any of your own theories? Do you believe any of the theories that have been mentioned? I'm definitely curious to know your thoughts. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, self-care and stay safe.